Active in the kingdom since 2017. We're one of the largest private equity firms here in Saudi Arabia. And we focus specifically on investments between Asia and the GCC, both in a way to contribute to the ecosystem here as well as driving returns for our investors. So it's a great honor for me to convene this panel, aptly titled Shaping the Future of Cross-Border Investments, Asia-MENA Collaborations in Technology and Digital Infrastructure. I'm very delighted to have four accomplished panelists joining me on stage today, each bringing, I would argue, a very unique perspective on this theme. So first, let me introduce Mr. Hazman Sallahuddin. Hazman currently serves as the Chief Investment Officer of KWAP, Malaysia's largest pension fund, overseeing its global investment program. I would say that Hazman is not a stranger to the kingdom. He was previously the Chief Executive Officer of AMO, the subunit of Malaysian Airlines, organizing pilgrimage tours between Southeast Asia and the kingdom. And earlier in his career, he spent 12 years with Khazanah, the Malaysian sovereign, also overlooking its MENA investment program. Next, to my left, we have Nurzhan Kadirkey, who is the CEO of BGlobal Ventures, which is a subsidiary of the Kazakhstan Investment Corporation. Nurzhan specializes in structuring venture capital investments, private equity investments between different regions to drive the ecosystem in Kazakhstan, but also in the Central Asia region. Now, we also have Jess Chung, representing, I would say, an operator on the panel. He's the co-founder and CEO of Valuable Capital Group, which is not only a leading FinTech group in Asia with multiple locations, but is one of the top FinTech and recognized brokerages here on the Tadawul Exchange, which is trading under Saham Capital. Some of you may know the app. Last but not least, I'm also very delighted to be joined by my colleague, Cliff Chow. Cliff serves as the managing director and managing partner of ewpartners, overseeing our China operations. Cliff, he brings a 30-year distinguished track record in the alternative investment industry, having previously served as a partner with Hopewu Investments, one of the largest private equity firms in China, as well as the director for financial operations of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, China Investment Corp. So look, what we're trying to do here today is really to explore both the opportunities, the challenges, and some of the emerging trends we're seeing in cross-border investments between Saudi, the GCC, and Asia. So I think a good starting point is to really assess the current landscape. So what I will do for each of the panelists, maybe just share a quick minute or two of what you think sort of is the state of the current situation of relationships in cross-border between Asia and MENA. And then we'll go into some more detailed discussions of various topics. So maybe, Nurzhan, maybe you can start with your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Niklas, for presenting us. Hi, everyone. My name is Nurzhan Kadirkey, as Niklas already mentioned. So, answering to your questions, I think for the past decade, the Central Asia, overall Asia and MENA relationships has accelerated. But sovereign wealth funds, governments has done everything in technology, in infrastructure, as well as some in finance. But I think there is some untapped potential for the private capital, especially the private equity and venture capital. I think there is some room in space to where more key players from both markets can collaborate more and enhance this cross-border investment.
Thanks. And what about you, Hazman, from your point of view?
Thank you, Niklas. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. I think I don't want to. Initially, I want to quote numbers I got from Google, but I don't want to do that. If you look just at today's vibes and energy at this conference, it's been very dynamic. You've seen a lot of course, local Middle East companies and also those from Asia, and you see a natural assimilation of these two companies to sort of demonstrate that the cross-border collaboration and partnership has been strong. And historically, that has always been so. You look at the Silk Road, you look at the Batuta, and the bridge has always been there. And today, it become increasingly more important. Post-COVID, post-interest rate hike, post-Trump, post-tariff, people are sort of trying to diversify away from certain geography. And because of that, you heard about all this onshoring, offshoring, reshoring, friendshoring. And because of that, it becomes more and more important for us to collaborate and partner cross-border. In fact, in my previous company in Kazana, we actually had a project called Project Batuta, and the aim is actually to promote cross-border investment between the GCC and Southeast Asia. But at KWAP, if I can be honest, we have nothing yet in the GCC, but that's why I'm here, trying to solidify that bridge between these two regions. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Cliff, what's your 10 cents?
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Cliff Chow. For ewpartners, we're headquartered here in Riyadh with a deep network in the Asia regions. So we've been doing this kind of a cross-border investment between Asia and MENA region for more than 6 years. Two very important trends I would like to just share. I think it's very important for us and probably for the audience here. One is we call it, most audience very familiar, is the economic diversification here happening in the region, in the kingdom. So many cases we have done is actually right into this theme that how we help Asian champion companies such as Siam Capital, etc., that to make themselves home here and create a new market for them. And we see this trend continue, like what we've been seeing happening in the last several years in Riyadh and also other countries in the GCC region. We're a strong believer that this is a long-term trend, that the economic diversification are going to be a big market opportunities for those who are interested in doing cross-border investments. And I think the second important trend is we call it global supply chain reorganization. So that's more really related to more the whole geopolitical relationship being reorganized by the administration in the U.S. and the rest of the world, and the spillover effect is a lot of big companies, medium-sized company, particularly in China, but also some part of the Asia, are all looking into how to safeguard their global supply chain and how the business continuity. And with that kind of a trend, also going to be a long-term trend, they are also looking for how they can create some continuity to their business plan, including but not limited to considering relocate some of the headquarters even. In some cases, relocate some of the R&D capabilities or manufacturing capabilities to other regions, such as here in Kingdom Saudi Arabia. One of our business partners, actually, Lenovo, has been doing a lot of things the last couple of days here in Leap. Also a big evidence that these kind of big Asian companies are considering how to have a plan B on other region. And this trend is another big push for us to continue our cross-border investment. And we see a lot of opportunities going forward as well.
Thanks. What about you, Jess? What do you see?
A little different from my colleagues on stage. I'm not from an investor point of view. We're more like a service provider, right? As a financial intermediate company, more than the reasons that my colleagues has just mentioned, which are very strong, which is also driving all these collaborations between the MENA area and also the Asian area. All we see is the development of the regulatory environment and infrastructures of the exchanges. We see a lot more enthusiasm on the investment, the cross-border investment on the secondary market. And we've been in the kingdom for over 3 years now, and we've seen dramatic changes every year. But we still think this is just the beginning of it. There are a lot more room on top of it. And we're seeing changing policies, we're seeing changing the structure of investors, we're seeing the changing asset classes, right? We're expecting a lot more to come. That's basically what we see now. Yeah.
A lot to dig into. So I think I will go to one on each of you and maybe ask some follow-on questions. I think it's some interesting themes that everyone in the audience might be interested in. I think, Hazman, given that you said that in the past you haven't had maybe exposure in your global program to the region here, whether it's in Saudi or the GCC. Having said that, of course, you do have a global investment program. So I was curious to understand maybe from the role of both of a sovereign or a public pension fund in your case, how do you, on the one hand, facilitate some of these flows while making sure you are generating the returns for your stakeholders, particularly in more emerging or newer markets that you previously don't have exposure to?
Right. So KWAP is, we actually are about $42 billion asset under management, and we are more like a sovereign pension fund, whereby currently our exposure is 75% domestic, 25% outside Malaysia, and 85% in public and 50% in private markets. And as a sovereign pension fund, on top of our fiduciary duty to provide returns, we also have the expectation to play a little bit of a sort of a catalytic role. So this is where I think, as a sovereign fund, you can add value. You know, every time there's a G2G official visit, when the Prime Minister comes here, he goes back, and then there's always announcement. But I think this is where, as a sovereign fund, we are sort of the executor of that announcement. And as part of our strategy to come into this region, this is naturally part of our diversification strategy, because you want to grow our exposure outside Malaysia. Of course, easiest way is always to go to the developed markets. But I think for us, given our historical affiliation with the region, I mean Malaysia especially, being very close to the kingdom, we feel that there's a need for us to explore what and how we can collaborate with each other. So I think, back to your question, as a sovereign fund, our role is actually to play that execution role, because what we've seen so far is that there's always talks, but people don't really walk. So I think that's why I'm here, really to want to find something that we can do and deliver.
And Nurzhan, I think from your perspective, also from a sovereign perspective, your mandate is also to be a catalyst, right, for the ecosystem, not only in Kazakhstan, but in the Central Asia region. I think reflecting maybe on what Hazman is saying, how do you think that you can bridge that gap? And what do you think would be maybe the sectors or the themes that are both applicable in Central Asia and here in the GCC, where there might be opportunities to create partnerships?
Thank you for your question. Yeah, to my mind, I think there is three key sectors between the regions that can drive our economics further. The first one is FinTech and digital payments, because as you might know, as well as in Kazakhstan, it's a booming sector. We have a number of unicorns. So actually there are two big unicorns who are doing in the FinTech, as well as I do believe that in MENA region, it's a more expansion market for Kazakhstan in these projects, or for potential the MENA region startups can grow the same big unicorns in such sectors. And sector number two, I think it's AI and industrial tech, because everything around AI automation, how much money is overall globally involving to the AI sector. Anyway, it's has a more space to be there. And the third one, I think it's also something like trendy, but I do believe because it's more on expectations from investors. So it's everything around ESG. So it's like a green tech, climate tech. In green energy, there is a lot of initiatives can be done. So these three main sectors, I think this is the top sectors for the upcoming 2 to 5 years. And we, as a BGlobal Ventures, actually trying to catalyze these sectors. So actually now we are launching our 30 million VC fund for the early stage up to Series A. We have already backed our half of the commitment by Kazakhstani sovereign wealth funds. Actually, it's a fund of funds, a QIC. And I think there is a room for regional limited partners from many regions, or overall the Southeast Asia region, to untap this potential by having and frustrating the market, being a co-partner in this fund, so we can grow together in this.
Well, you mentioned FinTech, and that's maybe a timely also segue back to you again, Jess, because you think from a FinTech arena, you're really a standout example of originally company from Asia coming to the region, right, and to really become a bridge between the two. And you did mention that your perspective is different. You are an operator, you are the facilitator for these flows. I just wonder if you can give us a bit more sense what you see. We've been talking about the primary markets, but in the secondary markets, what do you think, what is needed and what are you seeing to really untap that flow between not only the Western markets into the GCC, but also between GCC and Asia particularly?
I mentioned about the changes that we've seen during the past few years, especially between the MENA area and the Asian area, because we've been operating in Southeast Asia, including the Greater China area and also the Southeast Asian area. We used to only look at the West, that's what usually happens, and now we're looking at this part of the world. I think a very important condition here that we're talking about is, first of all, is the regulatory environment. Before there's the ignorance, in our operation that we don't know about it, or the rest of the financial markets are not familiar with it. And I think the Saudi government and the local regulator has done a terrific job, in the past few years, promoting the system, the infrastructure. So we do have a very good foundation right now, which we can bring the secondary markets together. And with the efforts between the exchanges, we know that last year the Hong Kong exchange and the Saudi exchange has signed an MOU on strategic partnerships, collaborations. These efforts has been able to provide that environment for more investors to get access to secondary market to each other. Our role in between is, as you introduced, that we have multiple licenses and platforms in Asia, in Southeast, in Saudi, and also in the United States. So we are the ones who is trying to be the bridge between these markets and to help our investors to understand, how products and how investment activities work in each region, and to bring them good investment instruments, especially in terms of high ROI. Everyone has been looking for that, and I think that, and that's another thing that is worth to mention is over the past few years, not many regions, especially when we're talking about secondary market, that we see that much of growth, right? That we see that much of potentials. And I bet my colleagues look into primary market investments a lot more than I do. But with the trend of the booming of the investment activities between the two regions, we can bet that the secondary market is going to boom after it, right? Because eventually, what is happening in the primary market is going to carry on the secondary market. So I think we're on a very correct path, and we are standing on a very good foundation. So I think we can look forward for more collaborations.
So I think you touched upon, of course, we're all excited about the opportunities. You talked about some of the challenges and how they address from the secondary market perspective. I think let's go back to from a primary market perspective and get some thoughts, maybe both on the challenges and how each of us can be a part of solving those challenges that we see. So maybe Cliff, from your perspective, ewpartners, of course, unique model is addressing some of these risks and challenges of going cross borders. You want to share a bit more from your view of how we can do that in a satisfactory
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to take a few minutes to talk through that. So we have done several very remarkable investments here in the kingdom. Saham Capital being one is in the FinTech space. Saudi computing company, SCCC, is first cloud here in the kingdom, joint venture by ewpartners, Alibaba Cloud, and STC. I think those two are all very much a feature in Leap these days. So I kind of summarize in three things to talk about. One is the market demand. So when we look at the cross-border investment, first we look at where are the demands in the market, just like everything. So of course, in the demand, we look at where the white spot, where the gaps are. And then we look at, second thing is then, once we identify the gaps, then we look at back in the Asian region side, what companies or where are the sort of competitive advantages when we say we want to bring companies come to this new market, to a new region. Then we need to look at why is the reason, what are the competitive advantages of these potential companies can bring along to the region. And then the third thing is really probably we call it our secret recipe. So you have a demand, you identify some competitive advantages, but on a deal-by-deal basis, every secret recipe will be different. In some cases, we need a company with a strong conviction, a strong management team. In some cases, we need a local partners, like in the cloud space, we need STC as a great partner. In some cases, we might need different things, like maybe capital support from PIF, etc. So deal by deal, we look at then the successful ingredient with them all together. I think they're very, very different. But over the past 6-7 years journey, I think we have pretty much figured out in each case what kind of spices we have to get to the recipe.
Hazman, that's the GP answer, right? In terms of doing deals, right? You're the asset allocator. And is there anything different when you look at things, US, Europe, traditional markets, right? In some of the new territories, not just capture the upside, but from a downside protection and management of risk. Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think the way we do asset allocation is that, of course, there's a risk allowance that's been determined by the board. And we simulate based on our exposure in the region as well as the sectors and the sector classes. We look at the country risk premium. And so long as we operate within this boundary condition, we are okay. And based on that, we made a decision on where we want to deploy our investment. I suppose how we're going to do it, basically like any pension fund or investment house, we do it either direct or indirect through funds by working with like-minded partners, say you mentioned like other sovereign fund, PIF, for example, and that's how we try to manage the downside. I think what's more important is that we do see that cross-border investment beyond promoting the exchange of financial capital is also important in terms of exchanging talent, exchanging technology, and as well as exchanging network. I think that's where we want to diversify away and also promote diversification in terms of beyond just getting the return. We want to see how we can also benefit each other from this cross-border investment. And I'm saying there's a very famous Arabic proverb, and I'm not saying this because I'm in Riyadh, but I truly believe in this proverb, which I learned from my teacher many years back. There's a saying called Kama tadinu tudanu, if I'm correct. It says that treat others how you want to be treated. So this cross-border investment with the region, between these two regions, is, again, we believe that we see value in terms of how we can add value to you, and we also see that you have a lot that you can add value to us as well. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful, and I think Nurzhan, in the sense of you saying, looking at some sovereign capital to unlock private capital, right? I think that's another part of this de-risking, maybe matrix, right, to create some of these partnerships. So maybe could you elaborate a little bit on that theme, and maybe how you can play sort of as a catalyst to create some of these partnerships?
Okay, thanks. Yes, as there is a somewhat untapped potential, but of course, there is some, like how to say, some restrictions that may faces the business, the companies and projects. It can be aligned with like some adaptation risks when the projects want to go from market to market. As for example, as one of our portfolio companies through our different fund has like a very good traction in our market, but then they go to one of the market of the I do believe it's in Philippines. In Indonesia, and they faced this risk of adaptation. So the project was not adapted, and they failed in that market. But however, in a couple of months later, they have succeeded in the Philippines. So it shows that like adaptation risk is one of the things that, and we are here as a VC fund managers. So we are here to help them to help the projects, because we face every day a lot of startups. We face every day the problems of the startups, and the projects are facing from market to market. And the second thing is, I think it's all about the talent, how to manage the talent, how to open their potential. And of course, in that part, I think also the VC funds also are the key main players. I think in that part, not just governmental support, it's more about the support from the market. So everyone should everyone should understand that helping each other in such kind of situations will foster the market to grow. So I think this is key to things.
So certainly private-public partnerships, sovereign capital, private capital, good relationships between local partners, all critical, right? Going back to you, just maybe more again back to the tech space, right? And from the facilitator, what in terms of technologies do you think could be helpful? You know, clearly blockchain is a big thing across the world. AI is a key theme. How do you see these things, these trends playing into this matrix?
Honestly, when it comes to trends, we're pretty much on the same place, right? Like, it doesn't matter from an investor's perspective or from an industry perspective. So what I face on a day-to-day basis is a lot more specific, right? For example, banking system, right? For example, settlement system, clearing, you know, those sort of like day-to-day operation. That's what I have to face. I think things has been changing a lot, not only in Saudi Arabia, but also back in home, you know, Hong Kong or Southeast Asia. What I see is good as, for example, the implement of open banking, right? We're able to get more efficiency on information usage without breaching certain legal setups or compliance setups. Second of all, is the mechanism of efficient settlement and operation systems. Not only for us, because you know we invest a lot in technology, and we have a very strong proprietary in-house developing team, but we're talking about the amount of investment that exchanges has been putting into these infrastructures, which is helping the whole industry to upgrade. It's a push. It's a push in behind of the participants in the market. We've been participating a lot in this kind of infrastructure upgrading in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Exchange has rolled out 2 versions of PTTP system, and same in Hong Kong. You know, Hong Kong Exchange has just rolled out the new IPO infrastructure. So what I see here is not only that the technology itself in an investment perspective that is very encouraging, but actually in an application, dynamic in terms of being able to provide more service, being able to provide more opportunities, being able to make more connections and bridging. That's extremely important. And now we're looking at AI, we're looking at blockchain technology. I think very soon, very, very soon, not only the private sector will be trying their best to implement all these technologies and put them in service, but also there will be more acceptance in terms of infrastructure building from a government perspective.
And certainly there's a lot of those companies around here at today's league,
exactly,
right? So we can have
exactly.
a look. Well, I think it's about time to wrap up, but I think it's quite remarkable. We're in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we have Southeast Asia, we have Central Asia, we have North Asia all represented, and I think also a lot of the presenters and the companies here. So I think it's really an indication of what's to come, a lot of potential of really bringing these regions closer together, and we're very glad to have you here, and I hope we can do much more together and with people also here in the audience. So thank you so much again for joining the panel, and thank you all for listening in to this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, our thanks once again to our panel and, of course, to Niklas. And that concludes day 2 of LEAP 2025. We wish you a very good evening, good night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.